Are you a football fan? Have you ever found yourself wondering, what in the world was that ref thinking? Well, Mike D, the referee, is here to help you. Join me on Whistle Talk as I talk to professionals on the field and in the booth to help you understand what is going on inside the mind of a football official. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another episode of Whistle Talk. Mike D, the referee, joining you here from a rainy New Jersey tonight. We've had the snowy New Jersey, we've had the rainy New Jersey. I am looking forward to the nice, warm Jersey Shore weather coming up, hopefully soon, fingers crossed. Got an awesome show for everyone tonight. I really think everyone's going to enjoy it. If you've been watching the show, 2 weeks ago, I had on a couple of officials who do some multi-sport officiating at the high school and collegiate levels. And I think this person is going to tie all of that stuff that we discussed in the previous episode together. I have joining me tonight Mr. Gene Steratore. Gene, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Mikey. Love the guitar riff intro too.
Thank you.
Go, man. Yes.
Yeah. It comes across a little bit loud for some people, but I enjoy it. It gets me going. So
Yeah, we like loud. Loud's a good thing, Mike. Yeah.
absolutely. So as I was just mentioning, Gene, a couple weeks back, I had on a couple of high school officials from around the country who do multi sports. And when I first thought about that premise, you were the first name that came to my mind, and I reached out to Dana Pappas at the NFHS, and we kind of played a little email tag for a while. So I had that episode happen already, but I still wanted to have you on. So I truly appreciate you taking the time out of the busy schedule, joining us here from your house. And I commented pre-production here, you got a whole studio set up in the background. I love it. Love seeing the footballs and the pictures and everything like that.
Yeah, you know what? It's great to be on, Mike. Yeah, thanks a bunch. And I did catch a little bit of the show and have such admiration for those that like to work games where the ball changes shape, as the seasons go on. And I think there's definitely some bridges that help both sports, as you do that, or multiples.
Yeah, and I definitely want to touch into some of your experiences with that tonight as we go along with it. But Gene, before we dive in, I got to do my algorithm spiel here for the podcast gods that are out there and whomever they may be. But ladies and gents, if you are enjoying the show, do me a favor, hit those follow buttons, hit those subscribe buttons, all those free things that we got out there. It makes the algorithm pop up so we can get the word out for what we're trying to do here. To more people. We're trying to we're in recruiting season right now for the high school level, trying to find a bunch more officials. So if you hit those things, hit those hit those subscribes, give me a comment, give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down. And as I say, give me a middle finger. I'm a referee, so it doesn't bother me. I'm used to it. I've heard it before, and I was a coach, so I've probably done it before myself. So if you get a chance, just hit those things up. And once again, if you're listening, you can follow us on the YouTube channel, youtube.com at Mike D, the referee. And also, I got to give a quick shout out to the friends that we have with Battlefields to Ball Fields. Let me throw them up there. Where's their little blurb? There we go. Battlefieldstoballfields.org. So they're helping us out here. So look those things up, and if you got any questions, you can always email me at mikedthereferee@gmail.com. I'm here to help and here to continue to try to grow this awesome sport that we have. All right. Got that out of the way.
Nice.
So, Gene, for those people who have been living under a rock for the past 20 some odd years, give us a little background for those people who might be like tuning in for the first time and saying, "Who's this guy on here?"
Yeah. Well, I was a crazy young guy that when my playing days finalized and I wanted to stay involved in the sports that I love the most. I decided to do what a lot of ex-athletes do in some cases, and that was to put on the striped jersey. I was a child of a father that worked over 30 years of major college football and basketball. So it kind of was in the house, and I also got to see it from kind of a different lens at a very young age. As a young athlete, I got to see how officials affected games My dad was also a supervisor of small college athletics, football, and men's and women's college basketball. So back in those days when there was no cell phone and the phone had to be attached to a wall with a long cord, those that go as back that far and maybe had sisters like I did, the cord grew longer so they could hide in a room, right? But I also got to kind of eavesdrop in certain ways of listening to coaches after games that would talk to my dad, who was the assigner, and listen to their concerns and kind of hear the psychological portion and the other side of the game in a lot of ways at a very young age, and it intrigued me tremendously very young. And I realized how important officiating was. You know, even as a player, not that I was the best player sometimes with the refs, but there was a level of appreciation, understanding, and then quite frankly, when I started doing it, just how hard officiating really was, how challenging it was,
Yeah.
and how from an athletic side of life, it really continued to keep being that same type of thing I chased as an athlete, those personal challenges, and went on to do high school football and basketball, and was fortunate enough to move through the college ranks, the major college football and basketball ranks, where I worked 27 years of Division I basketball. I worked 6 or 7 years in the Big East Football Conference when it was formed, and then got an opportunity to do 14 years in the NFL before kind of hanging up the spikes after Super Bowl 52, and doing something like what's behind me here, which is still roughing, still saying uncomfortable, but just not having to run as much as I used to, you know. So it's worked out pretty well. I've been very lucky.
Very nice, very nice. And now you're doing the analyst for not only football, and you're doing NFL, you're doing college football, but you're also doing it still for the NCAA tournament, correct?
Exactly, Mike. Actually, start this Saturday is my first weekend back into the Real Ref Studio in New York, and we'll start. I'll cover the last 2 weekends here of regular season basketball and into the Big Ten tournament, Selection Sunday, and then those beautiful 22 days of March that we all kind of forget everything else and just want to see how the bracket's doing, right?
Yep.
So we're getting there. Yes.
Yeah, so the time of that we're recording this is the 26th of February. So we're in that bubble time that everyone says for the college basketball season, leading right into that March Madness, and like you said, conference championship games and conference weeks got to be coming up in the next couple of weeks or so. So it's winding down for the basketball season, which is crazy. It happened so fast because I just remember watching football.
Exactly, Mike. Exactly.
So you're still involved with the collegiate game now too? Are you working with a conference still, or outside of the rules analyst? Are you working with some of the college officials?
Oh yeah, you know I inherited kind of the association that my father led for 20 plus years. So I've been a supervisor of small college football officials for, oh my goodness, in the top seat probably the last 18 or 19 years. So now we have two Division II conferences and one Division III conference. So I've got about 140 officials on my staff that handle 3 different conferences of small college football. So I've never really left that and that mentoring part, and you know that always continues to keep that thing moving. As you said, it is about us getting more people involved, right? It's about piquing the interest and helping the game along, not only for the game's sake, but then the rewards that officiating can bring to officials. You know, there's a lot to be said for it. We just need to keep getting the message out.
Yeah, it is, like I mentioned before, we are in recruiting season here in New Jersey. Our cadet class for New Jersey high school officials up and down the state of New Jersey is going to be starting in the next week or so, but we're still looking to try to get some more numbers, because every year we sign up and we get people going through the NFHS website or our state website, and they inquire about it. But then when our classes begin, I think right now for our section, my chapter that I'm involved in, we have over 20 people that are signed up. But then when the first class begins, we may have 15, and then by the time that we're all said and done, hopefully we have 15 at the end, but those numbers usually dwindle by one or two when they start realizing, all right, this is more involved than I expected. It's not just me screaming at a TV and telling somebody that they're wrong like I do on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly, Mike. That's true.
So you kind of went over like the big picture of where we are with officiating now. Going back with your college stuff, and you work in small college football, which I love. I mean, Division III football, I think second to high school football is the purest form of football because those kids are out there. There's I could be wrong in saying this, but there's no NIL money that are being involved in Division III. If there are, it's minimal compared to what you're seeing on the major games. So it's men and women out there for the love of the game, pretty much. So how are you working with getting more officials involved at that level, and what are some of the things that you're doing from that?
Yeah, you're so right, though, man. I continue to say that every single year of my life that I think the purest athletics is the Division III level for all the reasons you mentioned. So it's been a wonderful thing to be involved in that and engaged in that through really my entire officiating life because it keeps it pure and you realize why athletes want to play, right? It is for things that are other than maybe what we kind of see and read or the clickbait that's out there. So then really becomes also from an officiating window, in my opinion, I think for officials that want to move from the high school level to the college level, it's an extremely important bridge at that moment when you make that decision for so many reasons. The athletes definitely get stronger, faster, the game gets quicker, right? Now they're young men, they're young women, they're in their 20s. Mom and dad don't have to drop them off at practice.
Yeah.
You know, so you start seeing some different things athletically that maybe you wouldn't see at the high school level. So it definitely causes more challenging things from a focus, from what players can actually do, what athletes can pull off, what they can't pull off. When does a foul now become more of an advantage, disadvantage of pure separation as opposed to just maybe athletes that can play through a bump that they may not be able to in high school. So that's always a very huge step. And then quite frankly, I think one of the biggest steps for officials to embrace when they move from the high school level to the college level is the fact that that head coach at the college level, that's how he's feeding his family or she's feeding the family, right? So when people would ask me and still do after all these years, like, man, you must have been under so much pressure. What was the highest pressure? To me, the highest pressure, it's a Division III football coach who's 1-6 in his third year of a 4-year contract that finally got through the 10 years of living like a nomad or in the faculty dorm, promising his new wife or young children that we're going to get a house someday, right? You're going to be in a normal situation. Then it happens, and now they're in their early 30s. The kids might be 6 or 7 in first, second, third grade. They've been there a while. If he or she loses that job, where does the Division III head football coach go that got let go for lack of performance in their mid-30s? You want to talk about pressure. A lot more pressure maybe than the higher levels from a different angle, right? So it is getting officials to understand that. And most small college officials and football specific work Friday night lights. Place is packed, right? Everybody is there. Then fast forward 14 hours from Saturday night at 9 o'clock, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You may be in a small town USA D3 stadium that has 300 or 400 people, right? But these athletes, this means everything. It's the biggest game in America at
100%.
that location. So it takes you through multiple things in personal journey, understanding the magnitude of the games, and doing it for a lot of different reasons then, and then the challenges that it presents to get better personally, and then to, again, like I said, just start being able to handle different levels of athleticism and different types of coaches. It's a great progression. It's the foundation for all officials that decide to move forward above high school.
Yeah, and I started off. I played Division III football, and I started off my coaching career at Division III football. And what you just talked about was one of the reasons why I got out of coaching Division III football, because when I was in it, I was injured, and that got me out of playing into coaching. So I was in my early 20s, and then I realized at that age, I'm like, I want to have a family. I want to have stability, and the Division three world. And I was going and I was looking at, I mean, you look at Nick Saban's resume, and you see 17 different stops at 14 different states across the way. And I'm like, man, it wasn't for me. So I understand what those coaches are going through and the pressures that are on them. And I'm lucky enough to have a good friend of mine, one of my former college teammates, who's still a Division three coach, and he's now been the longest tenured coach at that college. Gosh, it's got to be going on 15, maybe more than that, years as the head coach. So yeah, it's a lot of pressure, and I still like taking that mentality as an official to my games on Friday, to my games on Thursday, to my games on Monday afternoons, because being the coach, I knew how hard those kids were working. And yes, for us, it's a sub-varsity game. It's a freshman game. It's just a freshman game. Well, no, these kids deserve to play the game. And if we want to continue to grow the sport and grow our profession, we want to make the game as enjoyable for those kids, those coaches, as we can. Now, we talked, again, pre-production. I'm there for the kids, not for the coaches. I'm there for the players that are on the field. I shouldn't say that because I coached many years, so I understand what they're doing too. But I want to put the best product out there for the kids. I want the kids to remember football, not to remember Mike D, the referee, not to remember me. I want them to remember, hey, that guy called a good game. Yeah. I don't even know what his name was. I didn't even have to pick his flag up for him. So that's a good thing for me.
Yeah, and listen, man, that, again, like you just said, as you were just talking there, understanding the environment we live in this day and age, and then wanting to be on a stage as an official where people are going to scrutinize you and the standard is perfection, and anything that's substandard from the officiating side is unacceptable. And then really for the ultimate goal to be to participate in this whole event and be unrecognized.
Yeah.
You think about that from a very deep perspective, and sometimes that comes back to you from the personal experience of it, that you are doing things for a different reason than a look at me reason. And I think that paid a lot of value. I know it was something that I leaned on for decades as I continued to go through the journey.
Well, I got to say now, this is where I have to tip my cap to all the men and women that are out there that are doing basketball, because I know I'm an umpire and a white hat. I'm a referee. I'm in the middle of the field. I'm predominantly with the kids. I used to be a short wing, as we talked about, so I was dealing with the coaches and the sidelines, and that stuff never bothered me. I could do that. But for the basketball people, no matter if it's small Division III basketball, if it's high school basketball, you got the crowd, you've got the parents, you've got everybody right on top of you. I know I just went to one of our local high school games last weekend, and when I tell you that there might be 2 feet from where the bleachers are to where the edge of the sideline is, and the kids are jumping up and down, going nuts in there, and you got 3 referees running around, so you got 13 people involved on the court. And you can hear everything. Everything. So, Gene, tell me about like your mindset going from football to a basketball game, because you used to do both at the same time. Am I correct?
Oh yeah. I mean, at my peak, I was a 75, 80 game a year, Division I college basketball official that then worked the NFL on the weekends. Yeah, so. I definitely relate to what you just said, and again, there was a lot to be said for how you just framed, right? Like, what are the challenging aspects of working in a really tight arena, a tight gym? Everybody can hear you, or you learn to talk a lot like this, right? So nobody could see what you were saying, yep. And the lip readers weren't going to get a good shot. But there was also a lot of advantage in confrontational working through that, right? Navigating that type of interaction, which as a referee like I was and you are, you're in the middle of the field 25 yards away. I'll get to you after the punt, right, or the change of possession. But then being a short wing was even worse than hoops to me, because at least in basketball we would rotate, right? Now,
yeah.
I got downgraded a few times in my career where my supervisor would go, hey, why did you rotate to the other side of the court when you got down there? I misread the play when the truth of it was I was rotating to get away from the bench for the next couple minutes, because I may have overstayed my welcome on that side of the court for a while, but you kind of learn a lot of that. And then to blend some of the interactive, the management part of officiating, which was the true nugget for me in my journey, and how do you manage those intense environments. It was really good to have the basketball experience when I got to the football games. And then sometimes there was things that I could do in football, or football had taught me, that I never would have realized I could apply in basketball. So there were a lot of things I think where it did cross over, but the basketball space, the bang bang, you're making 1,000 decisions a night, maybe blowing the whistle 15 times, but made 300 other decisions throughout this night that no one knows about. The repetition of that, I thought, was an unbelievable practice for me. And I felt like it kept me really kind of in that moment, Monday through Friday, take Saturday off, and then get on the NFL field Sunday. But I thought just seeing plays and having those reps night in and night out was serving me well.
I love how you just brought up, you may have blown the whistle 15 times, but you were making a decision. And I think that's one thing that coaches don't grasp. And I can relate it to the football aspect of not throwing the flag, but that dance, that rhythm that we have in our brain going on from pre-snap to the snap of the ball to what our keys are to where we're looking and all the different things that we're going, no, 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 no. All right, play's over. Let's go. Next play. And looking it over and saying it to ourselves and just the decisions that you're saying. And a thing that I've picked up on, or there's smoke, so I'm going to focus my attention there. Okay, it's out. So just things like that, basketball, I don't want to say it's a faster paced game, because it's a fast game by incredible athletes, just like we have in football, but it's in a more confined space. So yeah, you're going to have more bang bang type of stuff, but we have that with football too. And I always say to the people, let it marinate before we're going to throw that flag, before we blow that whistle. A lot of times, though, basketball-wise, you got a charge or a block. You got to make that call right then and there. You don't have the luxury that we may have in football. So that's got to be something that you had to train yourself to do and to transition back and forth on each time.
I did find out, though, and it was from Ted Valentine, who just recently retired. He was a great basketball official. Teddy had a really great knack to have what would be considered in our world a later whistle in hoops, right? You may be on the court and it would feel late, and then you know what, would go back to the room, or you'd watch the game on tape or something a day later, and that whistle wasn't late. Mm-hmm. It sounded okay in the rhythm of the game. And as you just said, look, in football, we have 25, 30 seconds in between 5 seconds of madness, and then we break for 25 more seconds. People think we're out there picking mushrooms for those 20 seconds, but truthfully, we're going through a dozen different things that are happening on the dead ball scenario, keeping it real and making yourself prepared for the next play based on how the subs came in, who came in, did they bring another D back in, did they bring another 2 receivers in, or whatever that is, and all the things that happen prior to the snap in football. But football and the ability, as you said, to digest a play, you can throw a flag in football on a live run, on a holding call, and the game continues. You got to keep officiating. In basketball, you put air in that whistle, the world stops, you're on center stage. But also, it was the understanding, I think, that football taught me with the patience, was that, man, if I buy myself a half a second or so on these basketball plays and my whistle doesn't feel or sound late, a half a second in officiating world is eternity.
Yeah.
So the football taught me a little more patience that I felt like I could apply to basketball and win a little bit. Don't be forced, because it's such a bang bang play. There's still a breath in there, and that breath allows you to check mark about 4 or 5 things that we do in football when the play is coming our way, right? And you're seeing a stock block that, is he restricting him? Yeah, he's not outside of his frame yet. His feet aren't beat. He's not trying to work to the runner, but the hole opens, and now all of a sudden that thing happens within that second where that's too much. All right, that's all right. You realize it. When it gets to crunch time, all these sports, and I think baseball is probably the same way, right, with the bang plays or the pitch that's coming in at 100 miles an hour. But we all kind of work to this meshing point, which if we're good and we do what athletes always say happens when they feel like they're getting better and the game slows down.
Slows
and we
down.
take advantage of that. That's when the real fun begins, and that's kind of when the real challenges, start to show even more so in officiating. So there was a blending, of patience, and I think there was a little bit of that both sports served me well.
That's great stuff. So, kind of want to transition now. And you mentioned before you kind of grew up around officiating and grew up in the sport, and I grew up playing sports, so I was around referees and officials my whole life growing up before I transitioned. But let's talk about the recruiting and try and not just the recruiting aspect of it, but what are some things that you've learned along the way in all the sports to maintain, to keep those officials wanting to come back on a Friday night or Tuesday evening for a basketball game or something like that? Because there are nights, I will fully say it, I've had bad games. I've had bad games as a player. I've called bad games as a coach where I was calling the plays for the kids and I put the kids in bad situations. And I go back and I watch film, and I've had bad games as officials, but I still want to go back out there and do it again and hopefully improve myself. But what are some tips that you may be able to give to people if that's happening? And I mean, you're working 6 games in a week. It's got to be tough to, hey, I got to pump that brake.
Yeah, it's a great point. And, listen, you always strive for perfection, understanding it's probably not a realistic goal, but then hopefully you settle for some excellence along the way, right? But in the human condition, we're not perfect. And I think the growth of working through things and being able to evaluate yourself and be critical in a constructive way of what you may have done well, or maybe what you can do better, or how did I not get that play? What didn't I do? It's that learning curve. It's that constant thriving to get to that place where I'm putting myself in the perfect position to then apply my judgment, and it happens so damn fast, and the learning curve is so huge. That's kind of what the hook is, though. I mean, if you really want to do it and you really want to challenge yourself, kind of the hook is that, and it is that. It's not as easy as it feels when you're on your couch or in the stands, and it really feels slow when you go back down and get on the field or court. The whole game changes. It's just not the same game. The recruiting, officiating in general, nationally, it's been really difficult. It's always been rather difficult. But I think when COVID hit and we lost 25 or 30% of our officials, and didn't then have them come back, we took another big hit. I think the other thing that really is a stat that people should kind of embrace, especially in officiating. 98+% of athletes, the last time they play an organized sport is in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So really, an athlete's experience, 98% of all of us that ever played, the last organized real sport that we performed in as an athlete was at the high school level. So the high school officiating is carrying 98% of the experience for all of these people in the world that love sports. So it is the biggest and most important slice of the pie, and also extremely rewarding for so many different levels. Yes, we hear a lot, the athletes should want to transition into being officials because, and I agree, but you don't want to cut out all of these other people that love the game, that love to get put in uncomfortable situations and make snap decisions, right? Or challenge themselves mentally, physically, emotionally, and want to be uncomfortable in those environments. It's that recruiting that we've got to kind of find ways to do it. Hopefully things like this podcast might, quite frankly, and I applaud you for that. We've got to use the new tools that get the message out. We're not just confined to the local chapter in your neighborhood that you go and meet on Sunday night for an hour and hopefully tag and bring a friend along with you, and, we can reach more people. I've been working in the state of Pennsylvania with some of the small colleges to try to offer a 1-credit college course.
That'd be fantastic.
Students, and hopefully incorporate that with the state high school board to say, look, at the end of this credited course, that individual can take the test. And if they pass the test, would the state be kind enough to say, look, that first installment of $100 or whatever it is to get yourself licensed, that maybe the state would want to buy in the high school area for that. I think that enhances it. I think we can look, we're doing something here at the high school level where we're permitting in the Pennsylvania high school athletes to go work junior high level sports, so long as they have a licensed official with them, because it is hard to get a lot of officials at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Right? But if you get a young athlete that's playing high school level sports and still interested, and you tell them, look, there's extra money in this too. Like, I mean, it's not delivering pizza. You're going to get yelled at a little bit, but you're also going to get challenged, and you might get, you're going to get paid to work out. You're going to run. You're doing athletic stuff. People don't understand how much athletic achievements officials have throughout their journey as well. So I think if we continue to try to get it to that level and get into that level of person, then it becomes a little more organic, because if you get high school kids to start working grade school games and they start talking about that in the cafeteria, now the word's going to go out, right? And hey, guess what? They also paid us X amount of money. So I'm doing 2 of these games a week, and it's more money than I've ever made in my life, and I'm 16, and this is something I'm going to do through the summer too. And hey, they play baseball all summer. Let's get into youth baseball. Whatever that case may be, I think the more that we can energize that, I think the numbers can increase. And that's kind of some of the things that I know you mentioned, Dana, who's an amazing individual. And I know that's one of her goals too, right? That we've got to lift the amount of recruits and people that want to become involved in it for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, and it's actually ironic that you just talked about that, because last night I'm on our local chapter's board, and we had one of our board meetings, our preseason board meetings last night, and one of the questions that got brought up is there is a 17-year-old individual who's looking to get involved with us, and did anybody have any qualms? And I'm like, guys, this is what we want. Like, we gotta embrace that. And they're like, well, do we want a 17-year-old working high school games? I'm like, at the sub-varsity and freshman level? I'm like, why not? He's going to be involved. And they said, well, he's a graduating senior. He's 17. He's going to be 18 by the time the football. I'm like, okay, that's fine too. But I'm like, yeah, let's embrace this and bring this on for the exact same reason that you're talking about. Go into the cafeteria, go on Snapchat with their friends and say, hey, I just worked these 2 freshman games, and I'm walking home. I got $120. Let's go. Pizza's on me tonight, which I'm sure the high school kids aren't just buying pizza. But
Yes. No, but you're so right. Listen, hey, I worked my first game in the YMCA in Uniontown, Pennsylvania I was 13. I was scared to death. I mean, those people in that gym were huge. Those people were old. It was 5th grade girls basketball. It was Asbury Presbyterian Church versus Central Catholic. I'll never forget it. I was scared to death. And then when I finished that game, and I think we got like $5 in a Yoo-Hoo chocolate soda from Bumps Night Paver, who ran the Y, the hook was in my mouth. I refereed every year from that point on in something, because it was fun. It was fun.
Gene, you're bringing back memory, because my first officiating career, I was doing youth soccer games. I played soccer growing up. Before I got into football, I played soccer growing up, and I was a youth soccer official. And I remember one of the best feelings that I had is I turned to a coach, and I gave them a yellow card. And I'm like, Coach, it's a penalty shot. There's a handball in the box. I'm tired of hearing you. And I think I was 12 or 13 years old, and I walked into my parents' car afterwards, and I was like, oh, my God, Mom, get me out of here.
Exactly.
But it was exhilarating. I went home, and I told my friends, yeah, I gave them a yellow card. I told them to be quiet, and I was right, dang it. So,
yeah.
But,
awesome.
yeah, more people started jumping on and doing it.
Yep.
I may have peed myself a little bit, but
exactly, Mike.
But heck, I'm 51 years old now, and I could still remember 14, however age I was. Yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
So, all right, I got to make another pivot now. I want to talk about everything you got going on behind you. You got all
Yes.
those screens, and I know that you work with still with the NFL and with the college game, and then you're also working it with the TV stations and stuff like that. So
Right.
let's talk a little bit about how technology is playing a part in our games today, both basketball, football, and everything else. I mean, heck, we just had the Olympics going on, and you know, USA all the way, but you know those Canadian curlers, a little fingertip push.
Yeah. You needed the index card out. I was looking for the index card.
There you go.
Someone should have pulled that out. Yes.
So talk to me about what's going on with the different sports, with the
Yeah.
technology and with replay and things like that. So how has that changed from when you started to where we are today?
Hell, man, replay just really I got in the NFL in '03, so we had replay, but it was very minimal. When I got in the NFL, you were told as a young downfield official, listen, kid, that guy's got to take at least 3 strong steps before we call these catches. It wasn't like what we see now and have to listen to guys like me or analysts break it down frame by frame. It was that teaching on the field of the no cheap turnovers in the NFL, but we weren't breaking the plays down in this crazy detail that the technology has brought. There's always going to be the thirst to get this right, and if we can get it right, and we can do it without hurting the game flow or the essence of the game, and technology brings in these other new tools, then why wouldn't we, right? So there's definitely that piece of it. I think we have to be extremely cautious. I think anytime we add plays, which are going to be added slowly, but I don't know in full effect, when there's subjectivity to a replay review, that could possibly be distorted in some way by the speed of the replay. I think we're on shaky ground. I think now we're doing things that maybe don't feel normal from the officiating window as it evolved, and I lived through most of this evolution, right? For the 20 years or so that I was in the football world, at least, and the way that grew. One of the biggest challenges was, and I did live that, when we would watch the replay training tape on Saturday in the NFL as a referee, many times I wouldn't let the rest of my crew watch the replay training tape. I would watch it with my replay official,
Okay.
and we would live in that world alone because we didn't want the officials on the field to be even hearing this crazy frame by frame dissection of what the replay rule mandated, because we didn't want it to affect their ability to keep working the way they were working at this high level of dissection. It made it extremely challenging when you were overturning somebody, right? And they were seeing something, and but we also weren't collaborating with New York on replays or anything like that. It was just the referee and the replay official, and you got to figure it out. So there's many more safety nets. Then naturally, as things continue to evolve, then down by contact was reviewable. So what do you do as an official? And those are the things that we continue to work through. We continue to discuss. We want to make sure as they add a little more, the unintended consequences of new technology doesn't take something that we may not have anticipated out of the game. You see it in football when replay's involved. That 99 to 1 play of whether it's a pass or a fumble, or even if it's an 80-20 play now, quite frank, rule fumble, because we want to let the play go. Well, that's not how I got to the NFL.
Yeah.
Making safe calls because I have a safety net behind me, which is technology. I'm here because I have programmed my body, brain, and everything else to make these split-second decisions and be right at a high level. Now you're telling me, even if I feel it's going forward, maybe you're not saying it to me directly, but let's just be safe and throw the beanbag and rule fumble. We can always fix it in replay, but if it is a fumble and you kill it, then we're into the Denver Bronco play right with the Patriots where Alex Kemp rules forward pass. We look and think now, oh no, that's backward. Patriots don't get to score on that play or something. So there's a lot of things that technology is adding to the game, and it's changing the way that we need to educate officials.
Yeah.
And in the Division III level, which is why I love supervising it. We don't have that replay, right? The high schools don't have the replay. We still have to referee the game the way that we were kind of brought up refereeing the game. I still think it's extremely important for officials to continue to work without that safety net. That's the only way that you're going to hone that skill to process these plays in fractions of seconds. But I would tell you, like, you want to get the play right, and if it can be fixed and be done in a fashion that's efficient and it's good for the game, I think that's great. It's dangerous, though, because we don't know where we draw that line, right? Like, now they're contemplating adding a couple more plays that could be reviewable. That's a challenging element, no pun intended, and it's continuing to evolve.
Yeah, I got to say, I do like the way that basketball has kind of gone with the replay aspect of it, but I feel the football aspect of it, I love what you're saying. Like, we got to officiate the game for what we see and what we do, because we're seeing sometimes that even with replay, we're not getting it right. And there was a play you and I talked about earlier. I don't really want to dive into it, but when you're talking about what's a catch and what's not a catch, I still have people, and my buddy Daniel that's been on my show a number of times. We still go back and forth with the debate of what is a catch and what's not a catch. And we just had one that I'm a Giants fan. John Harbaugh is now the coach of my football team because of what call was made at the end of a game that could have put them into the playoffs or not. And it's been brought back to light now today. And Gene, I know you've been involved in some plays in your career with what is a catch and what's not a catch, and you went with what you saw, and like things like that you have to officiate that way. And I know, again, the purest element, I'm always telling the people, let it marinate before we throw that flag, but make sure you see what you see, and that I can go over the sidelines to a coach and say, Coach, this is what I have because this is what we saw.
That's right.
And now we're playing the next snap, where today, with all the technology that we have, from cell phones to drones to the 9 different angles, it's making it tough on us. And it's difficult.
Listen, hey, I was reluctant, still kind of wish that maybe that genie never left the bottle, and what is or what isn't a catch. My entire career in the NFL was Calvin Johnson's catch to start it. 5 or 6 years later, it was Des Bryant's catch in Green Bay. My last game were 2 touchdowns that were ruled in the Philadelphia Eagle New England Patriots Super Bowl, where Zach Ertz is diving for the end zone. Did he finish the process of the catch and become a runner before he dove? Did he not? Subjectivity. I had Clement in the back of the end zone. Yeah, the football was moving a little bit, but he was controlling it. Now, when he went frame by frame, it looked like he didn't have any possession at all. But if I sat here and moved the ball from this hand to this hand and we framed it, I'd show you 6 frames where the ball was suspended in air, and you'd go, look, dude, there's nobody has hands on the ball. He's recatching it. No, I'm not. I'm just controlling it. So I think that's the piece of this, quite frankly, that's the most concerning for me. It was always frustrating because we're evaluated so in such detail in the NFL that you'd see that sky cam flowing across you on the stadium and think, if they downgrade me on a play that this camera that's 20 feet above me sees, then put me on a wire, because I can't get the angle that you just got to tell me that this is what it was. So there's definitely, as I said, these are some of those unintended consequences of wanting to get something right. And then when you sprinkle in subjectivity, then you distort it with speed element, or talk to me about what's this third element. What's time to make a football move? Is reaching a ball away from you, like Likely may have been doing there early, not the third element, even though his third step didn't hit. 2 feet were down with possession. Did he do that for a frame before he started to bring it in and the ball went out? And this stuff is all being judged. I think there's 200 frames to a second now, right? in cameras. You might be talking about 1/100th of a second or 2 frames like that are are kind of taking you know, to a different answer than maybe when I watch it in real time. It's like that was the thing we always said. Put 100 people in a restaurant, put the cameras up, put the screen up. When 98 of them say it's this, that's what it is. You know, let's keep it simple. That's still, again, one of my major concerns. I think personally, I would like to see plays that were reviewable with subjectivity. Catches, down by contact, losing control of a ball as you're going down. Let's only slow this thing down 20%. Let's not slow this down frame by frame. Let's not distort that thing on the sideline so much that it looks like, oh, as soon as the ball touches his hand, he has possession. No, he really doesn't. The football just met his hand there. But you're in this place now, right? So we're seeing things in live speed. Yep. 2 minutes later, we're watching this thing in frame by frame, and then they're coming out with a decision, and we're going, wait a minute. No, run that again. That's not what happened. Like, I know what they're talking about, but how do you referee that? That was my concern. How do we take that ruling and replay, which tells a human being on the field that is making 3 hours worth of split-second decisions, that these two crunch ones, we're taking those away from you. Don't believe your eyes, because we saw 2 camera frames. There's human beings involved that are processing, right? So there's a lot to digest. I mean, look, foot's out of bounds, puck goes over the goal line, fair ball, foul ball. These are black and white plays. Freeze frame it. There's his foot. Cool. Let's use that.
Yeah.
We've moved away from that now, and it's continuing to grow. And replay assist, which now if you throw a flag for ineligible downfield on the field because it's a hard line in the sand, if you throw the flag, we can conference. They'll scrub it upstairs real quick and tell you, yes, it's a good flag, or no, pick it up. That's a different animal now, right? Because now we're not reffing. We're not as uncomfortable as we used to be, maybe. And I don't know if that's a great thing. I don't know if I would want to be the high wire act that told me there was an invisible net under the tightrope. No. I did this my whole life to go on that wire, and if I fall in Madison Square Garden, I'm supposed to hit. You know, don't tell me there's a net, because I enjoyed doing this without a net. That was one of the challenges to it. So, but then everybody wants it right. So,
and it's something that I always remember coaching, and it's something that I always used to tell the players, that if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And there's a reason why people pay an admission to come to the games to see you guys play and things like that. Well, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it too when it comes to officiating. It's not easy, but we got to live with what we do. And it's not for everybody, but it can be for more people on our end with officiating. But let's do what's right for the kids, for the players, for the games, and continue to grow those things. And let's not sit there and ridicule a high school official, because I see it. I see it on Instagram. I'm on TikTok and all those things now because of my kids and because of trying to get the good word out. But all the people that are out there just bashing the officials because they have a 1 millisecond, 25 megapixel still frame of something that we have 9 bodies that are between us and the goal line. And okay, we're giving it our darndest, and we're going up with our hands for a touchdown because that's what we saw. Let's lay back, ease up. Let's bring those people in with us.
Yeah, you're so right.
So I don't want to hold you up here much longer. So I want to kind of just try to wrap everything up. What are some tips that you can give for younger officials, for people that are looking to get involved in a sport, or B, possibly a secondary or tertiary type of officiating world? What are some tips that you have for them?
I mean, first, I would hope that if you have any interest whatsoever, rather than do what we do in life in a lot of ways, we talk about doing all these things, and then when it comes that time, we kind of don't have time. Take the leap. And I think most people that get to that place, and maybe basketball was an easier transition because there were basketball games happening all the time, right? Mm-hmm. So someone was always looking for a ref. and putting that whistle in your mouth, especially if you ever watched games and liked it as a viewer, or you participated, or whatever that might be. The minute that you get on that court that first time, it hits you like, this isn't easy, which is it's an exhilarating feeling. It's a challenge. So I would urge anybody that enjoys challenging themselves. Listen, I got one of these on. It's to make sure I get so many steps a day and to make sure I'm checking my vitals. But now I don't work out like I used to come May, June, and July, after I'd let my body rest for 30 days when the 8 months that I refed were done. And then I would start getting on the treadmill or working out, getting ready for the next season, right? And then you retire and it's like, what do I work out for now? I was doing this for the last 50 years of my life to prep me for another 8 months of 2 seasons of sports, either playing or reffing. And then I started working out to close the rings, or whatever the challenge was, right? But there was a challenge in it.
Always.
You're much more alive when you challenge yourself. You're much more alive when you put yourself into unpredictable situations that aren't scripted, that don't have an answer until you have to react and digest them. You're also handed this amazing ability to be fair and do what you think is best based on how you process that in an event where things are happening very quickly, which is extremely good for you mentally, physically, emotionally. The fans are cool because I didn't mind the fans yelling. I didn't mind the coach being a type A adolescent for an hour and a half, right? There was some value to that. I never personalized it. I looked for ways to navigate it, to manage it. Then the craft itself, once you do get involved, there are so many intricacies to what we do as officials that nobody really does know unless you are involved in it. And then for all the young active officials that are listening or viewing that are starting now, it is all about the beginning of your journey, is all about your mechanics, your positioning, and where you are on the field or court to put yourself in the best position to make that judgment. And that may seem so elementary, but it's not. One step to the left or the right, up or down in a basketball game changes the games. The game is angles. The games are angles. The more you anticipate where plays are going and can get yourself a half second ahead by eye pattern, muscle memory, physically getting in a different position, changes the dynamic of the play. Master the mechanics of what the mentors above you will teach you to win on how to position yourself in the game.
Yeah.
The mental preparation through every snap of football, like we talked, and that's its own entire podcast. We could talk for an hour and a half on what you do in the 22 seconds between each play and why there's like a checklist that is different for each of the 7 officials in a football field, but it's a long list. And it's all in preparation for these 5 seconds that you need to have all this other stuff digested. That's where it gets really fun. So if you're a young official and kind of like you're liking it, but no, these coaches, they're idiots. I had a bad experience. A fan chased me to my car. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't believe people are this aggressive. It's the world that we're in. It's a greater challenge now for us to stand in the face of this, to be continuing to be that representation of, look, this is just who I am because I love this game. So the integrity part of what we do right now and not letting the vitriol cause us to become defensive or combative or actually not participate, that's trouble.
Yeah.
We can't now. The bell is ringing now way more than it rang 35 or 40 years ago, I think, in my humble opinion, for it. So I just think now we need officials now more than we have ever needed them for so many reasons. The beauty of the country is we have much more confrontation, and it appears we have much more strong line division. Athletics still has competition, but usually good athletes, great teams, well coached, when that contest ends, they kind of come back to be part of the same family in some ways, right? Because We love this game.
Yeah.
We play this game. Your greatest rival has to be great in order for you to be great. So as much as you hate your crosstown rival, they need to be great. They're working extra over there to be great. And for this rivalry to continue to live in that elite level, you want them to be great because it's going to force you to be great to compete with them. And then when it ends, then we embrace the fact that these beautiful games put us in these positions to be adversarial, to compete with all this respect. Quite frankly, that's kind of what the officials are doing, right? They're overseeing the production of all of this and trying to do it anonymously. If that can't get you to feel like, I want to participate in something like that, then maybe we're just different people. But I think the human condition and people that like that part of life or that maybe that extra piece of life, if you have a feeling that, man, that interests me, then do it. Because once you do it, it grows exponentially. It does fast, very fast.
It's amazing because all the analogies that you just listed there, they're not just sports analogies. They're not just high school, college. It's life. Like that's life. That's people walking down Manhattan, walking down Fifth Avenue, trying to get to a subway. They're competing with the person next to them because they got to get onto that subway. Yeah, there's going to be somebody who's not happy with you. There's going to be other people that are okay. There's going to be people that are going to be just hanging on your coattails the whole way to get there. But these are all life lessons. So it's not just segmented to sport. It's all about life. If you're enjoying to help other people out, if you're enjoying to help grow something that's bigger than you, get involved in sport, coach it, play it, officiate it. Like it's all there for you.
That when I know it had to at least been maybe I don't know, the years have gone so quick. I think I was probably in my mid-30s. I was in my 6th, 7th year of major college basketball, working major college football. I was on the road then, right? Kids were teenagers. They're all in their 30s and 40s now, and you were driving home from those D2 games from Philly or from the Garden back home because you needed to get home the next morning, right? But there was a lot of windshield time. There was a lot of alone time driving to this location. If it was only driving for the check or the little bit of exhilaration of the game, it would have died so quickly on the vine because the amount of time I was putting into it, even though the checks grew and got bigger, you broke it down by the hour, I wasn't making any money. You weren't making money, not for the amount of time I was away from my family. There had to be something bigger than, I'm not doing this for the check. I'm definitely not doing it for the attention. So it had to become something there, as you just said, Mike, and I agree with you. That's when I realized in my mid-30s, this is something that's helping me grow as a man, as a husband, as a father, as a sibling, as a human being in my community, as somebody that realizes now that when he blows a block charge in the Garden and somebody loses the game, his imperfection created that. How do you live with that? Do you go and destroy yourself? Do you absolutely not care? Neither one of those are good answers. But there's something to be said for dissecting your imperfection, being your biggest critic in a productive way. And then, quite frankly, the next time that play comes, get it right.
Yeah.
Get it right. Right? And can't tell you when it's coming. It's not like it's coming tomorrow at 8:15, so prepare. No, it's probably coming 10 seconds after you missed the last one. You don't know. So it was all of that. And then, quite frankly, it was the bridging of all of these things I felt like I was learning from virtues to what they all meant. It was bridging into life. The minute it started to bridge into life, it became something that I could use as an example to teach my kids, or as another example of, look what the country's doing to us right now because of this decision you made. That, quite honestly, Dad, you were right on. But look what's happening. Okay, do we go after the whole world? Do we hate humanity? Or do we embrace the fact that we got put in this position? We made this decision. Quite humbly, we still think it's the right one. And we'll deal with the adversarial stuff that those decisions come out without taking it personally. Those are big time life decisions, man. That's the kind of
Absolutely.
stuff we're doing daily. So if you're now applying things like that, and now you're still doing this, then the check became really fun because I was growing as a man.
Yep.
Now you're paying me to become a better person. Now I'll take your money. Now it's fun. Now
Love it.
we're really having fun. And quite honestly, that's why this room's behind me. It's why now I have more time to have these interactions, to go down to the smaller levels, to start talking to these next generations. The greatest part of officiating, in my humble opinion, for those that get into it, that have a beautiful career, but still enjoy the fraternity. When you start mentoring and you see success from the next generation because of things someone from a previous generation than yours taught you, and you can pay it forward. Officials are some of the coolest people, men and women in the world, as far as that goes. That's what I loved about our fraternity. I still do. It's the essence of what makes it what it is. They love paying it forward.
Yeah.
And again, isn't that what we aspire to be as human beings, right? You want the next generation to be better than us.
100%.
From what we learned from the previous. So let's just do it with a striped shirt and a whistle in our mouth.
Well, I don't know how we can end
Get
this.
that guitar riff off.
Gene, truly, truly appreciate you. This was a great, great conversation tonight. I thank you. That's all I got to say.
Man, it was fun spending some time with you. We'll do it again.
Thank you very much, sir, and be well and good luck this coming these next couple of weeks coming up for you with the basketball tournaments.
Yeah, we'll do about 150 games in the next 28 days, but it'll be fun.
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah, no big deal. Yeah, not a lot of running, so that's good.
All right. Appreciate it.